People hear me?
I can hear you.
Great, thank you.
Chair, can you hear us? Just want to do an audio check.
I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you too.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay muted because I'm at a hotel. Maybe. Wait.
Okay. Mr. Chair, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, March 20 at 11:30, and this is the Public Regulation Commission's regular open meeting. I have the privilege and burden of running today's meeting. The chair is doing double duty today, so which is why I have the privilege of doing this. So we'll go ahead and get started with the roll call, the first item on the agenda. Actually, I think what we first item on the agenda. Commissioner Nyberg? Here. Commissioner O'Connell?
Here.
Commissioner Aguilar? Present. Two of the commissioners are present in person, one is on Zoom, and you have a quorum, Mr. Acting Chair. Okay, so with that, we have an agenda set for today's meeting. And commissioners, do you have any proposed changes to the agenda?
I do not.
Okay, looks like we do not have any proposed changes, so we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. We're getting better at that and kind of like a more of a synchronized tone there. All right. I realize now that I sort of flipped two of the items. So but we'll move on to item 4 on the agenda, and that's public comment. Is there anybody in the room that would like to provide public comment? Okay, Mr. Rodriguez, do we have anybody online that would like to provide public comment?
Commissioner, we do not have anyone online for public comment.
Okay. Next item of business is announcements, and we'll go ahead and get started with the Office of General Counsel, if you have any announcements.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just one thing I wanted to mention for the viewing public and those who care. Our next meeting on April 3rd is also going to have a late start, not quite as late as this one, but we'll be starting at 10:30 on that one to accommodate commissioner schedules. So next meeting, April 3rd, will be starting at 10:30.
Okay, thank you. And for commissioners' announcements, I'll just go ahead and maybe start with Chair O'Connell to see if you have any announcements.
I don't have any announcements this morning. Thank you very much.
Okay. Commissioner Nyberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to express my appreciation to all the folks that have been sending us information on the power shutoffs that we've had to experience the last week or two. The utilities are certainly trying to be proactive in making sure that we do not cause fires either in the forest or in the grasslands. And so as a result, I know Southwestern Public Service Company and Public Service Company in New Mexico, P&M, have both had to issue notices and have had to, in some limited instances, turn off power to a number of residents and businesses in the state of New Mexico to avoid those risks. And we appreciate the public being mindful that it's out of abundance of caution that the utilities do this, and we hope that as time goes on, that people will become maybe a little more familiar with this procedure and recognize that in the springtime in New Mexico, we're going to be facing these types of events on occasion. So I just appreciate everyone who's working through this, these new notices and warnings, and I hope that people will take adequate precautions to make sure that if they are in the wind-prone areas, that they recognize what is going on around them and why these actions are being taken.
Good comments. Thank you, Commissioner. By way of hearings, so we normally go through what hearings we have scheduled between now and the next open meeting. There is one hearing that will be held on March 28th. That's a public hearing on SBI's application for eligible telecommunications carrier. And I believe that's the only thing we have scheduled between now and the next regular open meeting. Appreciate Commissioner Nybert, your comments that's an important message to communicate. So I appreciate you making that. We have our chief of staff is has been pulled away to work on legislative items, which is, it seems like a lot of people are spending perhaps too much of their time working on legislative items. And so I think we have some new employees to announce. Jordan, will you take care of that? Okay, we have Mr. Jordan Gutierrez, who will help us introduce some new employees.
Good morning, commissioners. Today I have the pleasure to introduce our newest team members. I will share their name, hire date, and position, and then they will briefly introduce themselves. We have Laura Wade, joined us on February 15th as a compliance auditor and accountant in the Administrative Services Division.
Hello, nice to meet you, everybody. Unfortunately, I do not have video, so hi. I just wanted to say I'm really grateful to be here. I worked at Tax and Rev for about 9.5 years as an internal auditor, and then I spent several years at the Office of the State Auditor as a financial auditor, just to kind of give you a little background. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Next, we have Gabriela Aragon. She joined us March 3rd as a financial specialist in the Administrative Services Division.
Good morning. I apologize as well. I don't think my camera is working. But I also want to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys this morning. Recently, I have come from a couple of small businesses handling their accounts payable and accounts receivable. And I am currently enrolled at the University of New Mexico pursuing my bachelor's degree in business administration as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriela. Next, I'll have Christopher Bryan introduce his two new hearing examiners.
Good morning. Yes, we have two hearing examiners to introduce today. Mr. Schaefer, to my left here, has been with us for some time, but we've been remiss to introduce him officially at one of these open meetings. So I'll just go through a sort of brief outline of their background, so the commission has awareness of the significant skills they bring to the agency and how happy we are to have them as part of the hearing examiners team. Patrick Schaefer is a bachelor's from St. John's College in Annapolis and the campus here in Santa Fe. He was spent his 1 year here at the Santa Fe campus. A master's in the University of New Mexico. I'm going to kind of run through these. Patrick's got a very interesting background and a lot of skills. He's a graduate of the University of New Mexico Law School. received an LLM at a university in Europe and Portugal through a Fulbright scholarship. He functioned as the chief legal counsel at the DFA, worked at the regulation and licensing department, and had positions previously at the World Bank, Inter-American Development Bank, the Hunt Institute for Global Competitiveness at University of Texas at El Paso, where he was the executive director and an adjunct professor of law. So I think Mr. Schaefer will bring a great deal of skills. We've already had many significant discussions about the cases that come before the commission, and I think Patrick's abilities will be instrumental. So I don't know, Patrick, if you want to say anything.
Thank you, Chris. Just looking forward to supporting the commissioners and the commission as a whole. This has been an agency that I have long desired to work for. So thank you for the welcome and happy to be here.
And then to my immediate left here is Ms. Jocelyn Barrett. Also has a tremendous amount of skills to bring to the commission, and many of you have probably seen her in the proceedings because she comes most recently from the Attorney General's office, where Ms. Barrett was working for representing the interest the Attorney General does under statute in our utility proceedings. So it's always very, very useful to have folks coming to the commission who have experience. But then I think what Ms. Barrett brings as well is the perspective of the interveners and what they like to see prioritized within the proceedings. And so in that sense, Ms. Barrett will be essential. So she's a graduate of the University of Maine, also a graduate of the University of New Mexico School of Law. Her most previous job was at the AG's office, where she was there for several years. Prior to that, she was working at Montgomery and Andrews. She's familiar with the individuals from EPE and has knowledge about those subject matters, which will also be instrumental to us. And also worked for the Rothstein Donatelli law firm doing civil litigation with civil rights, wrongful death, and family law matters. Ms. Barrett.
Thank you for that introduction. Commissioners, it's very nice to be here. It's long been a goal of mine to become a hearing examiner, and I think that Mr. Ryan is correct. I do bring an interesting perspective because I've worked on the utility side with the Attorney General, and now here I am. So I'm really excited to get started, and everyone's been very welcoming so far, and I appreciate being here. So thank you.
My closing remark would just say that I think, it's a testament to the agency and the quality of the candidates who we've had come to the commission. I think to the extent to which we are always striving to professionalize, our two new additions are a very good symbol that is in fact happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christopher. The next employee is Raneem Oais. She started with us on March 3rd, and she's an attorney for the legal division.
Good morning, commissioners. I'm coming from a private practice background in civil litigation where I was for 5.5 years, and I'm really greatly looking forward to contributing to the commission and serving New Mexicans, where I've lived a majority of my life in New Mexico, so I really look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next employee is Martin De Leon. He started with us February 15th. He is a pipeline safety inspector working for the Pipeline Safety Bureau. Martin, are you online? Maybe not. Okay. He's out working, that's right. And then the last employee, so there's 7 new employees total. The last employee is going to be Elizabeth Acosta. She started working with us February 17th as an economist in the utility division. Elizabeth Acosta.
Hello, nice to meet everyone. Most recently, I graduated from NMSU with my Master's of Economics with a concentration in Public Utility Policy and Regulation. And then as far as work experience, I spent a little over 5 years at El Paso Water, kind of learning the billing, field operations, metering, and all that kind of stuff. So I look forward to working with and learning from everyone here at the PRC. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We're excited to have them on board and look forward to their contributions. Thank you, commissioners.
Well, welcome to all of the new employees. I agree with Mr. Ryan that the quality of candidates that we've been able to attract is just fantastic. When we started a couple of years ago, we had a vacancy rate. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it was like 24%. And we've been able to make a lot of progress, and really want to thank all of the new employees for your interest, and also our existing staff, because they are the ones that are doing very good work to help attract other good people. I also want to thank the division directors, who clearly have been very hard at work in hiring people and doing a great job at it. And so this is certainly a team effort, and our team keeps getting bigger and better, and that's really good to see.
But Mike, Commissioner Aguilera, I would say that partly it's a testament to the reflection of the commissioners and the excellence you all bring to the table. And I think you all set the culture from the top, and that's attracting really talented people. So great moment of thanks for you all.
Unless there's anything further on this, I think we could move ahead to the next item on the agenda. Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of prior meeting minutes. We have two sets of minutes, one for the February 13 special open meeting and one for the February 20 regular open meeting. I included a few edits, I believe, to both of the minutes, which showed up in red line. Commissioners, do you have any changes to the minutes or
Mr.
discussion?
Chair, you may have already made these changes, but on the February 20th minutes, the regular open meeting, top of page 5, I think we should strike the first paragraph there, and then strike the section A and the words utility matters : because those weren't part of what was discussed. That was just a carryover from the agenda. And then down below in the paragraph between item 8 and item 1, the paragraph that says the commissioners agreed, in the second line, after the word new, I would insert the word draft of a final order. So it reads, GEDCO on a new draft of a final order. And then at the end of that line, before the period, insert to be considered at a later meeting or a future meeting, period. Because we did not vote on a final order. We voted for you to work on a new draft of a final order that would then be considered later. So I would make those two changes.
And thank you. So those are good catches. I think your revisions there would more accurately represent the outcome in that meeting. I just want to understand the when you reference the top of page 5. So there's a sentence here, looks like boilerplate, about that the commission may go into closed session. That's one that you would like to remove, right?
Yeah, that, and there's one other that has that, and that's on page 6 as well, right after Roman numeral 9, discussion and potential action. We see that boilerplate going into closed session again. It probably needs to be stricken then, because we did not go into closed session.
Yeah, I agree with those changes too as well. They are probably carryovers from the actual agenda, where it's included as a standard caveat for the items on the agenda. And then to clarify, we have, right after that sentence on page 5, we have A, utility matters, and then we have an item 24-00273 UT. Were you suggesting removing that?
No, no.
Okay, yeah.
We did discuss that matter. We removed it from the consent agenda. We discussed it in the regular agenda. And after our discussion, then I suggest that we change the wording slightly to reflect that you would work with Mr. Gedko on drafting a new final order. So.
Mr. Chair, do you have any discussion or proposed changes?
I know I looked at I put a couple typo edits in Board Effect. I looked at it again this morning. And I was able to follow the discussion, so I agree with all the edits that are here and move for approval of the minutes.
I second.
Does your motion cover both sets of minutes or just we're going to do one at a time?
I understood it to be both sets of minutes.
Yeah, that was my intention, but if we need to take them one at a time, we can.
No, I think both would be fine. I didn't have any changes on the others.
Commissioner Nybert,
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilera,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connell.
Yes.
The motion to approve both sets of minutes as amended passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
All right, with that, we can now move on to item 7 on our agenda, which is consent action items. We have an agenda with consent action items. Commissioners, do you have any discussion on any of these items?
I do not.
Okay, we don't have any discussion with that. I would move to adopt the 5 consent action items.
Second.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Aye.
Commissioner Nybert,
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilera.
Aye.
The motion to approve the consent action items passes unanimously.
Thank you. So this agenda is a bit different than most. We don't have any regular action items. So that's noteworthy. However, we do have discussion and potential action item. This is a rulemaking concerning the commission's rules of procedure. And I believe that online we have Mr. Robert Lundeen to present this item. And also want to note that since we're talking about the commission's rules of procedure and Mr. Robert Lundeen is the lead on this, I think an appropriate way to reference to this is to call this rule Robert's rule. So that's not a formal motion, but Mr. Lundeen. I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, commissioners, and excuse me for my hybrid attendance today. I don't know if that name is going to stick. It might conflict with another Robert's rules out there. Anyways, this is the second time we've discussed this item. If you recall, at the last open meeting on the 6th, I did a presentation kind of giving the background and some of the context for this rulemaking. I'm not going to repeat myself too much today because you've already heard that spiel. But just for the public's benefit, I just want to remind everyone that the commission is looking to amend its procedural rules. The commission's procedural rule, it's the biggest rule that the commission has, and it affects kind of every facet of the commission's business, and every person who deals with the commission one way or another probably has to conform to this procedural rule. So it's a comprehensive edit top to bottom. There's no kind of one primary kind of topic area or issue within the procedural rule we're trying to address. More so, it's a full kind of refit or kind of makeover, if you will, to get it up to speed with where the commission's at in 2025. So where we left off at the last open meeting was a discussion about a specific mechanism for potential docket closures. But otherwise, I don't have anything specific for our discussion today. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I know that I have a number of things that I need to talk to Mr. Lundin about. Some of them just a word here or there, others maybe some bigger concepts, including the automatic dismissal language that we have. I know our chief of staff also would like to weigh in on some of the items in the order as well, and I'm supposed to meet with her at some point to go over those things. And so I guess my question is, do you want to take time in this meeting to discuss some of those things, or do you want us just to get with Mr. Lundin and work on those things and then have a potentially another draft come back before we publish it and move forward on securing comments from the public?
I think that I wasn't imagining that we would go into a deep discussion of the issues. Maybe just kind of highlighting at a very high level what the changes would be, and I understood yours to be the automatic dismissal, and I'm assuming this has to do with complaints that are filed.
Well, I think the idea on the automatic dismissal is not just complaints, but basically any matter that any docket that we've opened that is just languishing for long periods of time. And Mr. Lundin came up with some language. I have some other proposed language. My thought process is that if we have matters that have been pending, Mr. Lundin said 6 months, I'd probably go for 9 months or maybe even a year, but whatever time period we would settle on, if it's still languishing and we send out a request for a status update and there's no response to that request, then we should be able to remove that docket from our backlog without having to come before the commission and do a formal dismissal of it. And so we need a rule that would allow that to occur without having to go through the formalities that we've gone through in clearing the docket a number of times the last couple of months. So I have some language that differs a little bit from Mr. Lundin's language. Ms. Corey probably has some language in that regard as well. But it's one of those issues I think we just need to sit down and discuss how that should be, whether it's 6 months, 9 months, a year, whether we require a letter to go out before we take the action. I would be more comfortable if we sent a letter out and then there was no response. Mr. Lundin's proposed language just provided for automatic dismissal. I think we ought to do something, send out a notice, and then they fail to respond. But those are the things that we probably need to talk about and see where everybody's at. And if we want to have that discussion now, that's great. But that's kind of my thought process would be, I put in 9 months. Mr. Lundin has 6 months. He has an automatic dismissal. My thought process would be that we send out a letter doesn't have to come from the commission, but a letter from the office needs to go out requesting a status update. And then if there's no response, then the Office of General Counsel could simply enter a notice of dismissal in the file, and it's dismissed. The parties get copied with that dismissal. If at that point one of them wants to do something, they can respond at that time and ask that it be reinstated. But it shouldn't require time on the part of staff and this commission to go through a formal process when the parties have, in probably 99% of the cases, have just dropped everything and moved on with their lives.
Thank you. I think that could go a long way to improve our procedural efficiency with cases that have been lingering. The two things that come to mind when just kind of thinking about this is that there are some items that are lingering because they're pending some kind of commission action. And so I think, you know, that's one thing that we would want to think about if the ball is in our court. You know, there are things and perhaps internal deadlines that we can talk about for certain items. And then the other thing is that the consideration of whether such dismissals should be without prejudice to a future filing that opens the matter back up. That might be better for a case-by-case basis. But anyway, I think that's a good effort to undertake, is the analysis of how we can improve for some of these items that have been lingering.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think you touch on two things that are important. Number one, if it's because we are causing the delay, so to speak, they're not taking any action because it's in our court. We, of course, wouldn't send out that letter. That's why I'm proposing a letter go out and give them an opportunity to respond. So that would avoid dismissing things that are the delays due to our own inaction. The second point, whether it's with prejudice or without prejudice, I think what I'm just contemplating is that the matter would be dismissed by the general counsel's office would just simply send out a notice of dismissal. It's not dismissed with prejudice unless we, the commission, would have to be the ones to take that action. Would they not, Mr. Cameron? If we dismiss something without prejudice, I mean, with prejudice, I think it'd take action on the part of the commission. This is just a automatic dismissal that the commission wouldn't have to consider. So I wouldn't think the issue of prejudice would be involved. Am I viewing that right, Mr. Cameron?
I think that's right, Commissioner. I mean, we may want to at least in the language that goes in the rule, have something that so that people know that if it gets that kind of automatic dismissal, it's without prejudice, whether it says it or not in a dismissal. That's probably not a bad idea, but I think I would agree with you that if it would be with prejudice, then that would take a little more than just a automatic dismissal notice to go out.
And what district courts do oftentimes to clear their docket, they send out administrative orders dismissing a case, and more often than not, I've had to write the court and tell them, oh, this probate is pending. We don't have a IRS release on the taxes, so we can't dismiss it yet. And what happens is the court just simply enters a letter that reinstates the case. It doesn't go through a formal process, and that's what I'm really contemplating here, is that we get to clean our docket. But if somebody, after they get a copy of the the notice of dismissal, they say, oh, wait, we need that, then it's incumbent upon them to send something back to say, oh, wait, you do need to keep it open and here's why. And I would hope that that if we get one of those letters, that we would immediately reinstate it and then maybe issue an order for them to do something again, which they ignored the first round. But I'm not suggesting that we use this as a tool just to get rid of complaints and other valid proceedings. This is just simply a recognition that there's a number of things that get filed, that get resolved, and nobody's expecting anything to occur after that, but there's still an active case on our docket, and we're trying to get rid of those things. So I wouldn't mind putting, without prejudice, but I don't think the prejudice issue even needs to be stated because it's automatic, could be done by Office of General Counsel and not by the commission.
Thank you for those clarifications. Chairman, do you have any discussion that you would like to provide on this? I do have one suggestion as well that I wanted to raise, but don't want to move off of this topic if there's more discussion.
No, I appreciate the discussion and the efforts to make this draft as good as we can before pushing it out for comment.
Okay. So one item that I wanted to raise for hopefully brief discussion is we have some, I think we could use clear rules to determine how and when a party could comment on certain types of filings. So our rules are pretty clear about what happens when an item is set for hearing. I think those, from my experience, turn out well because the hearing examiner issues a procedural schedule that lays out when testimony is due, parties' positions are due. For other items, that clarity does not exist. One example is a variance request. And in reading our rules, I think we could do more to be more clear about when comments should be submitted so that it's been several times that we kind of deal with this situation where we add an item to the agenda and then we get comments after because there was no deadline, or we discuss an item and at an open meeting and don't rule on it. People hear discussions and then they come in and file something else. I think it would be better to consider what deadline is appropriate for different types of filings, so that it is clear that if somebody files within that, so that it is clear that there's a deadline, and if somebody submits comments or an intervention after that deadline, then it's clear that those comments and or intervention are untimely. So that's one thing that I wanted to speak with Mr. Lundin further about. Commissioners, I don't know if you have any reactions to that.
My reaction would be, Mr. Chair, that I agree the rules should be very clear as to when people can do certain things, make filings, and when they're not accepted. And it ought to be clear to us when we don't have to consider something that comes through the door. I've often wondered why our orders and different things don't allow a proponent to reply after the other party has a chance to respond. I find that a bit odd, but every order I see, it limits the ability of the movement or the petitioner to reply to whatever gets filed by the party that's opposing them. Usually replies would be allowed, but I see that oftentimes in our orders. I don't know if that goes hand in hand with some of the things you're talking about, but our rules certainly should be clear that if it's in this stage or if it's in this category, it ought to be clear what is expected of the parties, the timelines that are attendant to each one of those things, as well as who can then respond to those filings and what timelines attendant to those responses. So I agree with you. It should be clear.
Yeah, and the other issue that raises is the issue of notice. Did other parties have appropriate notice as to, just that this filing was made? The suggestion that I would like to make is that the commission issue a generic notice on filings that have been submitted. So, for example, I was thinking maybe like on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, the commission can issue a document that just lists the items. So docket number, X filed by party Y, comments due by, whatever date, whether it's 20 days or, whatever standard date would be computed by whoever is putting together this notice. I think that would probably be very helpful for the industry to know when to expect these notice documents to be issued, and just kind of go through the items and figure out if this is something that they have a substantial interest in. Because I definitely do agree that we should have a clear deadline. And then the other part of it is, do people have the information that they should, the notice that they should, to know that there's a deadline for an item that they have a particular interest in?
Mr. Chair, in that regard, Mackley has at least provided me with kind of a synopsis of everything that comes in that week. And it's very, very helpful for me to see what's going on. Is what you're advocating for something that would be similar, and then have maybe the time period from which parties can intervene, or parties can submit comments, or parties can submit requests to come into the case and file responsive pleadings? Is that kind of what you're looking at?
Yeah, similar to that, although I wouldn't suggest including a summary of the item. I think there's room for us to maybe get something wrong, or for somebody else to say that we're prejudging some issue or mischaracterizing it. I would just say the docket number, the party, when interventions and comments are due, and maybe the link to the document itself. And that way, we're not in charge of figuring out who needs to be served with what. And we're also not in charge of summarizing it, because I think there is some risk there that we might say something incorrect that, the filer doesn't like or something. So really just giving the information that a docket, a filing was made, And I think the burden is on each individual potential intervener to figure out whether that is an item that they need to be involved in.
I understand that we are going to a new e-docket system. And I'm wondering whether that technology affords itself some components that would meet what you're talking about, and whether that just appearing on our website would be the sufficient notice, or whether you're talking about posting on the front door list or what. But it I do think everything that gets filed is subject to the public scrutiny, and it provides at least constructive notice to the world that it exists. But you're talking about maybe assembling a one-page document, what was filed that day or what was filed that week, and putting in the deadlines that would exist. And I don't know if anybody in the room knows anything about the new e-docket system, whether it would afford that or not, but it's certainly something that maybe we should ask some questions of the people who are in charge of that, and whether or not it can easily be configured to do what you're suggesting.
Yeah, that could be another solution. For now, I was thinking it would be somebody on staff who is seeing the items come in and can assemble that information. And I have an example that I can share if it's helpful. And so I was thinking Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I think it could also be Fridays and Mondays. It's just the longer we wait in between, the longer it takes for people to have notice. Fridays, because you kind of get a chance to notice everything that came in that week, and then Mondays because things come in on Fridays, before a deadline, and so that Friday notice would not necessarily capture everything that came in that week. That was the one issue that I wanted to raise as a potential inclusion. And I don't necessarily know that that us issuing a generic notice needs to be in our rules, but it's kind of this idea that I think the deadlines, something that helps implement deadlines for certain filings, needs to be in our rules, and then didn't want to miss the other side of that, which is that people, in order for people to comment, they need to have notice. Mr. Chair, did you have any discussion on that item or any other items that you wanted to raise?
No, I mean, it's similar to the previous item is, I understand why these items are being raised. I think that it's good to at least think about them. And I guess where I'm at is we're getting on discussion on this item. We've already brought up a couple things that'd be helpful to see something, like the example you offered. So anyway, I don't think we'll be voting on this rule today.
Right. Is there any further discussion on this item?
I just think it's a good idea. I think the timing, we probably need to talk to some folks on staff as to whether once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week is overburdensome, but we don't want to make it too burdensome on staff. But I think having a place where that information is revealed, and maybe having some ideas to what the deadlines are, or at least reference to the rules that would deal with deadlines is important to get out to the public.
Thank you. So we're not ready to take any action on this item. But I do just want to double check before we move on to the next agenda item, if there was anything else.
Well, again, Mr. Chair, I have a number of, I would consider them fairly minor. Maybe some of them aren't so minor, but just more or less wording type issues. And I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on those. I can go over those with Mr. Ledeen. There are a couple things that I would like to just find out why we would do a couple things, and one is up front in the definition part, and it's the definition of file. And basically file, the act of filing or file means you're submitting it, and it's limited to email unless otherwise permitted in other sections, and acceptance by the chief clerk. And I'm wondering whether we really mean that or not. It seems to me that the action of filing something, you file it with the chief clerk, but it doesn't require their acceptance because there's mechanisms in the rules to reject something later on, but they've still filed it. And then the filing may get rejected later, but I'm wondering whether acceptance ought to be part of that. There's a number of other things that I'm kind of wondering what we need to do. There's a place in here somewhere that a party can request any number of conform copies. And I'm wondering whether or not we should have either some limit or should be able to charge if it exceeds a certain number. And just some ideas like that. There's some things that conflict with one another that I'll just point out to Mr. Ledeen that we probably ought to iron out a little bit. There's an issue on confidential information, and we may need to discuss that with Office of General Counsel generally about how to handle confidential information. And there's a section dealing with confidential information, but up above, it doesn't necessarily reference an exception to that. And so we probably need to look at confidential information that may be submitted and make sure that we've covered our bases there. On pleadings, should we require a party to have something that reflects that we have that it's appropriate, that there's appropriate jurisdiction to handle that matter? It's not in the rule that they show that we have jurisdiction over the matter. There's rules in here that require us to determine we have jurisdiction, but there's no requirement that the party bringing an action show us that we do have jurisdiction over that matter. Let's see, if I recall correctly, the rules require a party, if a party is permitted to file a reply, they have to do so within so many days of the response. But in order to file the reply, they have to get our permission to file the reply. Well, our permission's probably not going to be granted until after the deadline's already met. So I think there's some things like that that we need to work out in the rules. And again, most of this stuff, I don't know merits much discussion today, but those are the things that are jumping off the face of the page with me that I think it'd probably be more expedient to sit down with Mr. Lundin and maybe certainly Miss Corey, who also has some concerns about particularly the automatic cleaning of our docket language and maybe try to fix some of those things and get another red line draft to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with your approach, and I appreciate just hearing high level what some of these issues you've identified are. Thank you for doing that as well. Mr. Chair, do you have anything else before we move on to the next item on the agenda?
No, again, appreciate the discussion and like I say, this rule is important and it's big, so let's try to get it in shape that the commission agrees would be issuable before we accept the comments.
Yeah. And the questions and issues that are being raised, this is the appropriate time to ask those and raise those. So.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's part of the plea is this, you know, we've been working on this for a couple of years. On the other hand, there's no deadline pushing it, so I would like to get it out for comment, so knowing that everybody's busy.
Okay, thank you for that discussion. The next item is just a discussion item. And this is a legislative update. It's going to be provided by Jerry Mares. I don't know if Jerry is.
Good morning.
Oh, online. There we go. Good morning.
And I apologize that I am virtual as well. A lot happening these next couple of days. So good morning, Chair and Commissioners. This is our final week of the legislature. Yay! But the next few days are very crucial in determining the outcome for the New Mexico PRC's initiatives that we have. So I'll just give you a brief update. As of today, SB 109, which is our interagency cleanup bill, and SB 9, our Pipeline Safety Act violation civil penalty bill, have both successfully made it to the House floor from the Senate. And so we're hopeful that SB 109 will get heard on the floor today, where we're still working on SB 9. So we're hopeful that both of them will pass before the final day on Saturday. Through no fault of our own, SB 143, which creates our utility oversight fund, appears to have stalled in the House Judiciary Committee. I mean, obviously, we're always going to be hopeful that some miracle will happen, but as of right now, it's stalled in House Judiciary. So we're still closely tracking all the bills that are relevant to the work within the state until the final day. We're still keeping an eye on several bills that have fiscal implications to our office and that extend beyond our budget request. But their progress, however, remains uncertain even to today. A lot of them are still sitting either on the Senate calendar or the House calendar. So they're just like how we are. We're just all waiting and determining whether the outcome is going to be positive or not for us. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Mr. Chair, I do have one question. It looked like Senate did pass the budget yesterday and sent it back to the House for concurrence. Did anything in our request that was ignored by the House, did that get uh, reinstituted in the budget that the Senate passed? And if so, do you get a sense as to whether or not that will prompt any adverse reaction in the House to concur in that change?
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, without having Miranda, who is the expert, the CFO, online with me, I can just tell you that the Senate Finance is definitely favorable to the PRC. But I didn't get to finish listening because I was listening to you all in your discussion. I didn't get to finish listening this morning. House Appropriations and Finance had the chair of Senate Finance, and they were going over the changes that the Senate made to the House Bill 2 and 3. And so I didn't get to finish hearing what the ending conversation was. They were just kind of going over the amendments and taking questions from the House Appropriations and Finance. But I definitely know that Miranda will have an update for you all to see where that lands. I don't know if they're concurring. I'll be able to listen back to it once I'm offline.
And then, Mr. Chair, and Jerry, on the two bills that made it to the House floor, does it look like that we are going to actually have them heard on the floor, or do you get any sense as to whether or not particularly the pipeline safety bill may get stalled before being brought up in the next, well, we're under 48 hours at this point. So the next probably 12 to 18 hours.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Nybert, the SB 109 is a very real possibility today. I'm pretty confident that it's going to get heard today. I just don't know what time. Our Chief of Staff, Choya, is over there as our expert. I have not heard a confirmation on SB 9 as of yet. I have been following up with our floor sponsor and with our main sponsor, and they do not have anything definite yet.
Yeah, and then my last question, Mr. Chair, for Jerry, is there's a Senate memorial that is there regarding the issue of eminent domain and transmission lines. And my question is, does it look like that is going to make it get heard on the Senate floor? Is that thing going to die? And my concern is that we need more transmission in this state, and that might be seen as some impediment to providing transmission that we sorely need.
Yes, Chair O'Connell and Commissioners, Commissioner Nybert, you know as well that, it's anyone's guess how they're going to hear stuff on the calendar, and in what order. But as far as that Senate memorial that you're speaking of, and you know this, as far as it's very, it doesn't really say what, other than our congressional delegation. It's only asking our congressional delegation to write letters opposing that transmission corridor. However, as far as law or making any changes in state law, that's not really happening within that memorial. At this point, it's still on the calendar, but as far as whether it's going to get heard, I just have no clue.
Well, thank you very much. And I guess our next meeting, you will give us a blow by blow on what passes and what failed to pass, and maybe what we need to work on in the interim to accomplish, particularly the self-funding mechanism that appears to have stalled. So thank you for all your hard work and appreciate the time and effort that you've taken to keep abreast of the bills that affect us and to try to get the things that we need in front of the appropriate people and moved along the process. It is arduous and difficult, and it's good to have some eyes and ears on those things, and we appreciate the time that you took to do that.
Yes, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I will definitely have follow-up and let our staff at the agency know, what has passed that was going to have an impact on us so that we can be prepared along with, the effective dates and, we still have a little ways to go on with the governor and when certain bills would take effect. But I'm optimistic about our own priorities and just the outcome for the industry as a whole. I think it's going to be positive. I'm hopeful. We still have a you say that we have less than 48 hours, but in my mind I'm like, we still have 5 legislative days, so
Any further questions for Ms. Mares?
No questions. I just want to again extend my thanks to her and Chief of Staff and everybody who's been working with both of them. We're near the end, and I'm looking forward to seeing how things landed next time we get together and putting together plans for going forward if needed. Just thank you.
Yes, and I also join in on the thanks from the Commissioners O'Connell and Nybert. So thank you, Ms. Mares.
thank you. Thank you. I hope I have positive news for you in a little while.
So our next item is communications with Chief of Staff. And as we discussed, she is dealing with legislative matters in real time. So I'm going to ask if Mr. Jordan has any updates that he was asked to provide.
Hi, Commissioners. I do not.
With that, we could move on to the next item, which is communications with commissioners. I have just a couple of items that I wanted to share. After this meeting, in about 22 minutes, I plan to head to the airport. Participating on a panel to discuss a couple of academic papers at the UC Berkeley Institute of Energy. One having to do with transmission and potential cost savings associated with transmission, and the other one having to do with siting of wind turbines. And then not next week, but the week after that, I will be at the CREPC meeting and will be busy with some responsibilities that I'll have with the CREPC Transmission Collaborative, body of state regulators for EDAM, Markets Plus, States Committee for Markets Plus, and also general responsibilities for CREPC and kind of helping to lead that conversation during the conference. And so I will be remote for our next open meeting. But I will not be here in person, but I will be fully here mentally. Those are my updates. Maybe I'll turn it over to Commissioner Nybert first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too look forward to attending those meetings and hopefully we'll learn even more than I'm learning now, which is a tremendous amount. It's continuing to drink through a fire hydrant, but certainly appreciate these opportunities to go to conferences and learn more about the role of commissions and the role that we play, not only in the state, but really when you look at it, our entire energy, the entire energy issue is so interdependent with every other state that these meetings are necessary and the relationships that get built are necessary. And I'm pleased to hear that you're going to be on an expert panel here discussing some of those issues. And I know Chairman O'Connell is out of town doing similar things. So we're well represented by two experts and they're sharing their expertise with others. And likewise, we learn a lot from people, not only within the state, but certainly from other areas, other states, and it certainly helps us do our job and fulfill our role that the legislature has entrusted to us. So thank you. And again, appreciate everybody on staff that's been working very hard and certainly appreciate the time that they've taken with me personally to bring me up to speed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chairman, would you like to provide any announcements or not announcements, communications?
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm happy to be joining you mentally from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm here at SPP has got, they call it the strategic advance, I guess, instead of a strategic retreat. They're building their strategy for the next 5 years. And so anyway, it's been a privilege to contribute to that process. We'll see how that plays out over time. While I was here, the announcement was made that FERC has approved the RTO West filing for SPP. So RTO West is a number of smaller, typically public power utilities, mostly in Colorado, but it spans Utah, Arizona, Wyoming. So one of the things SPP Regional State Committee is going to be working on over the next few months is changing bylaws to accept new members. So the group of RSC commissioners is going to grow to include some fellow Westerners. So looking forward to working on that also. Also shout out to the new employees. Great to see the fresh faces, impressed by the talent and the skill you're bringing to the job here. And that's been something that's really been great about, you know, my time on the commission is just melding some of the fresh energy, new ideas with folks who've been here a while and committed to doing the important work New Mexico needs. So welcome aboard. Looking forward to seeing you when I'm back in New Mexico, which will be later tonight. And thank you, Commissioner Aguilera, for running the meeting. Just on a personal note, as you know, I struggle to take agenda items in order. So happy to know that that's not just me.
Well, that's why we're
travels to you.
Make a good team, I guess. Great. Now let me make sure I didn't skip any other items on this agenda. Okay, so the last item is adjournment. So unless I hear any objections, we are adjourned.